رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Firstly, begin by congratulating the youngsters, mashallah, for their himmat and their courage to stand up and recite the Taraweeh. May Allah Ta'ala grant them the ability to grow from strength to strength, and may Allah Ta'ala grant their teachers and their parents the reward for the sacrifices that they've made. And the important thing is that all of us, we try to recite the Qur'an, we try to learn the Qur'an, and we encourage one another to be amongst the people who will always read, learn, and practice. And most importantly as well, we read the Qur'an correctly. That is something we have to strive for. And that doesn't come overnight. It takes practice, it takes time. But inshallah, it can be done. I just wish to touch on what I've been mentioning previously, which is Sadaqatul Fitr. Sadaqatul Fitr. So Sadaqatul Fitr is different from Zakat. One is Zakat that we have to give, and every individual who has a certain amount, which is called the threshold that they've reached for Zakat, they have to give that in 2.5% of that. And that's hold different rulings. Another thing is Sadaqatul Fitr. What is Sadaqatul Fitr? Sadaqatul Fitr is an obligation for every Muslim, male or female, who reaches the age of puberty and who owns what is called, they have the amount that makes Zakat obligatory. So you've reached the threshold of Zakat. What makes Zakat obligatory upon you, you've reached that. So now you have to give Sadaqatul Fitr. Now you have to give Sadaqatul Fitr. So what you'll have to find out, for those living in Trinidad, you'll have to find out that how much the nisab, what is the threshold that will make this income. Once you have that, you have to give Sadaqatul Fitr. Now, what's the difference between Zakat and Sadaqatul Fitr is that if it is Zakat, you know what we say is that in Zakat, a whole year has to pass by on it. Sadaqatul Fitr now, once you have that amount on the day of Eid, Sadaqatul Fitr. And Sadaqatul Fitr you give on behalf of yourself, and similarly you also give on behalf of your minor children. On behalf of your minor children. Your wife, Sadaqatul Fitr is obligatory upon her if she has that amount. She has to give it herself, or if you want to give it, you'll tell her and she'll take her permission that you're giving on her behalf. Similarly, if you have mature children who reach the age of puberty, it is their obligation, how Salah obligation, and they have to pray. Similarly, Sadaqatul Fitr is their obligation, they have to do it. But yes, if you as a father says, okay, I'm going to give it on your behalf, that is fine as well. But this is important to remember. But then with regards to your minor children, your children who have not reached the age of puberty, now you will give on their behalf. So the first thing to remember is that Sadaqatul Fitr is obligated on each adult, male or female, and the relevant adult person himself or herself is responsible to pay for it. The next thing is it is sunnah that the Sadaqatul Fitr is paid before performing the Eid Salah. It is paid before performing the Eid Salah. It can also be paid before the Eid day. But we are not supposed to, it is not advisable that we delay it up to the performance of Eid prayer. And if a person, however, forgets to pay, then you still have to pay. The obligation is not discharged. You still have to pay even though the Eid Salah has concluded. Scholars has mentioned that it is good that you give it before the Eid Salah. It is good that you give it even a few days before. Because one of the wisdoms and reasons for Sadaqatul Fitr is to ensure that the poor and needy will have something by which they will be able to enjoy Eid as well. So Sadaqatul Fitr is a mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Sahaba sometimes would give their Sadaqah 1 or 2 days before Eid. And it's been mentioned that one of the reasons for Sadaqatul Fitr is that it purifies the mistakes in our fasting. It purifies the mistakes in our fasting. And also it benefits the poor. It benefits the poor. So that is why we don't wait until Eid day to go and come and give our Sadaqatul Fitr. You can ask Imam or Mufti Abrar Sahib. I'm sure probably the boxes are downstairs already. But we try to give our Sadaqatul Fitr, like from now, we start giving it. If we know poor and needy we can give it to, we give it to them directly. If we don't know, then we can give it those responsible for the masjid for giving that out, inshallah, and then it will be given out. But this is important. This is very important that we discharge our sadaqatul fitr and give it early. And as I said, one of the wisdoms is so that the poor and needy, they'll also be able to enjoy Eid. They'll also, if they get that money before Eid, then they'll be able to perhaps purchase a new pair of clothing for themselves, and they may also be able to, spend a bit more on some type of groceries or the others, so that they can have a better meal than they're accustomed to. So this is something that we have to remember. Now, one of the things that sometimes we are questioned about is that, in the hadith, it is mentioned about wheat, barley, dates, etc. Right? So does it mean that a person has to give wheat or barley or dates or raisins as sadaqatul fitr? So we have to remember that when this is the commodity, and this was the commodity in those times, and hence, this was what was given. But in this day and age, a person, if you go and give someone perhaps wheat, they'll probably ask you what nonsense you're doing. And if you're going to give them some raisins or even some dates that amount to sadaqatul fitr, they're going to look at you and say, but I've been having dates the whole year, right? So that is why you give them something that they'll be able to use, right? So this is something also important to remember. I want to touch on one thing here. So just quickly, so sadaqatul fitr is a charity given to the poor on the day of Eid or before the day of Eid, so that they can also acquire the happiness of Eid without having to beg. As we said, it can also be given in advance. And if a person does not give it, if a person, say for example, comes to the Eid Salah and forgot about giving it, he still has to give it. You still have to give it, right? And sadaqatul fitr, in the narration, it mentions is half a sa'. A sa' is a type of measurement. There's half a sa' of wheat or 1 sa' of barley, raisins, or dates. That is the amount of sadaqatul fitr that has to be given. So, for example, in Barbados, this will amount to wheat. Wheat is the wheat. The amount that you'll have to give in terms of wheat will be $7.50 in Barbados, $22 of barley, $35 raisins, or dates at $175. Now that is Barbados. In terms of Trinidad, you give the amount. The amount for wheat is $16. You'll give that amount per head. So say the father is giving, he'll pay $16. If he's paying on behalf of his wife, that's another $16. If he has 3 minor children, it'll be 16, 16, 16. All right? Or the amount for barley, which is $50. Dates, $85. Dates, $85. And raisins, $100. Right? So you can give either of these amounts. However, we have to remember is that if Allah has blessed us with wealth, then don't give the wheat amount. Give the higher amount. So according to your capacity and your standard of wealth, you give that amount. Understand? Because everybody just, a person is very wealthy and he's giving $16, give more. Even if you give more, at the end of the day, it's going to the poor and needy. And remember, it goes back to that wisdom that you're trying to give them a happy Eid as well. So this is where the amounts come in. If not, usually before we used to just stipulate and go over that. I know, I'm not sure about here, but in Barbados, we used to just have $750 nearly every year. So $750, and everybody's $750. Rich man, poor man, everyone's giving $750. And alhamdulillah, then when we started calculating these figures, so now it gives the option and it encourages others as well. Because remember, you want to be charitable. So in this way, you're giving more if you have the ability, and that will go to the poor and needy. So these are a few brief points regarding sadaqatul fitr. So let's start giving it from today, and may Allah Ta'ala accept our charity and our all of our observances. Ameen wa akhir da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.